Hello, friends. Welcome aboard the Round Trip Stories podcast, where we share stories of moving around the world and back again, reflecting on the lessons we've learned along the way. My name is Tracy.
And my name is Melissa, and we are so glad you're joining us for today's episode. Our guest today is Carolina Baiza, eco-hotel and sustainability entrepreneur from El Salvador. When visiting her brother in Germany, Carolina noticed that the El Salvador World Fair booth had no representative. She volunteered to run it, and before she knew it, she earned scholarships in Germany and Italy to study how to run trade exhibitions for her country. For 15 years, Carolina ran her hotel in-country, while at the same time creating fair exhibitions to represent El Salvador around the world. So buckle your seatbelts and make sure your tray tables and seats are in their upright positions as part one of Carolina's round trip story gets ready for takeoff.
All right, welcome to part one of our interview with Carolina Baiza from El Salvador. And Carolina is a eco-hotel owner in San Salvador, El Salvador, and she just also recently won the National Prize for the Environment in the Urban Hotel category. Congratulations, Carolina.
Thank you.
And I know Carolina because she is an old classmate of my husband in their German school in El Salvador. So I'm so thankful that she agreed to be on our podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be here with you.
Yes, it's really going to be fun to hear your stories. And I'm so thankful that Tracy invited you and that you said yes. So thank you for being here with us, Carolina. So as we get started, tell us a little bit first about yourself and where you grew up.
Well, I was born and raised in El Salvador. I have my mother and my father, and I have two brothers. I'm the one in the middle. I grew up in the capital city, but my parents are from the countryside, so I always had this combination of the city and living in a village with my grandma.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Yes.
And you didn't just move once. So tell us just a little overview of where you have moved and lived throughout the years that you were kind of living around the globe.
Well, I spent time in different places because I always wanted to go somewhere else. In El Salvador, we have a problem in Latin America that we like other countries more than ours. You know, since we are children, it's sad to say that, but since I studied first in the British school here and then in the German school, so since you're a child, you get this influence from other people, from other countries, and you want to know them because they tell you Great Britain is the best or Germany is the best. And there's this kind of malinchismo, we call it. There's a story about Malinche in Mexico. Probably Tracy can tell us more about that. So sadly, I wanted to travel because I wanted to see what was better than us. But at the same time, it was like a big adventure because I had discovered many opportunities. And first, I worked in El Salvador, and while I was studying, and I saved money to go to Europe. That was everybody's dream here. And so I went to Europe to visit my brother. He lived in Munich. He was studying arts over there. And I went to visit him in the year 2000, and while I was there, I knew there was this big expo, this World Expo in Hanover, in Germany, and I knew there was nobody from El Salvador there. I knew the booth was there, the pavilion, everything was there, but nobody was there. So I called the embassy and I told them, hey, I studied in a German school, I speak German. Do you want to hire me? And they said, send us your resume. And I sent a resume with an old picture where I was looking like an angel, you know. And then, and in those moments, my hair was Rastafari, and I was very hippie. So they hired me without any interview. In those days,
Oh my
internet
goodness.
was not popular, so there were no
Right.
phone calls on the web or anything like that, or any cameras. So just an old picture I sent them, and I got the job. So I had the chance to work in this expo for 6 months, and it was a great experience because over there are many representatives from all over the world. So there are more than 100 countries working there. So every day you had the chance to go in the bus with people from Thailand, with people from Australia, from Ecuador, from everywhere in the world. And you had the chance to work there with people with different cultures. Every day there was a national day. So, for example, Belgium was celebrating the International Day, and there were free waffles for everybody.
Nice.
Some days the kings from Spain were coming, and artists were coming, people from all over the world. It's like a big event. And that's why I loved that job very much, because I was able to meet people from everywhere. And because of that, I came back to El Salvador and I got a scholarship to study everything about organization of trade fairs, and it's called planning and organization of trade fairs,
Okay.
which is a big industry. Germany is the number one place for trade fairs, so I studied there. And I also got a scholarship the same year to study Italian in Rome. So I spent 2 months in Rome with the nuns
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was very interesting too. And then I got the scholarship to Germany, where I was studying with people from 16 nationalities. We were 20 students from 16 nationalities. And that's why I spent the longest time over there. But then I had the chance when I came back to continue working for El Salvador in different expos. So I had the chance to travel all over the world. I went to Korea, to many trade shows in Europe, and I was doing it every year, and I was constantly traveling. I also made other big expos, like in Spain, where I spent 6 months, and then I also did the last one in Korea for other 6 months. So I was coming and going to El Salvador. So every time I was coming to El Salvador, I was working in the hotel. But I was more focused on the expos, on traveling, on the trade shows. I was not very focused on in El Salvador. I was always trying to get jobs abroad because I loved traveling.
Did you own the hotel at the time?
Yes, the hotel was opened just after the first expo in Germany in the year 2000. So when I was in Germany, in that expo, I went to cities that were run totally by solar energy. And I was surprised because they didn't have the sun, and
Right.
everything's gray and dark. And here we have a lot of sun. So I have begun making comparisons about what people are doing for the environment, even they don't have the resources as we do. And I had the chance to learn many things about the environment in those expos. So every time I was coming, I was giving ideas to my mom. Because here everything was a chaos, and everything was chaotic. And I told my mom, this business should be a green business, because in Germany everything worked perfectly in that way, and everything was cleaner and peaceful, and there was no trash, no smoke on the air, and there was no noise. So I had the chance to learn about living green and living in a green way. I had the chance to learn about sustainability.
And was the hotel, did it belong to your parents at first?
It belonged to my mom. It belonged to my
Okay.
mom, yes. So they are divorced. So she's raised us with this business, and
Okay.
yes, and so every time I came, I told him we must do something green, which was something very crazy in the year 2000 in El Salvador. It's still very weird to do that, but now it's more acceptable. But in those years, we were like hippies.
You were very ahead of your time.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So when I traveled, that was my opportunity to see other things in where people were doing, and every time I went to an expo in Cancun, for example, I had to visit the greenest hotel. When I went to Europe, I always made a space to go out and visit something sustainable or something eco. And when I lived in Korea too, everything was very green. It was very clean. So the expos, they also had different subjects like preservation of water, conservation of flora and fauna, conservations and the oceans and things like that. So I had the chance to go to different congresses and learn about what was happening all over the world. Also with my colleagues, for example, in the last expo, I worked with people. I was in the same pavilion for the people who lived in the Pacific Ocean, and I had the chance to share the pavilion with people from the South Pacific, with Nauru, and Nuvatu, Solomon Islands, Marshall Islands. So from them, I learned about the high levels of water that are drowning their islands and what they are doing. In Spain, I learned about the rivers and the problems with the water they have, the scarcity of water, and so everywhere I traveled, I had the chance to learn a lot about sustainability, which was totally undiscovered here in El Salvador.
Well, now we want to hear a little bit more, or like some specific stories about your time living abroad. Can you tell us particularly about Germany? Well, tell us a story about your initial transition and adjustment over there.
Well, first of all, I didn't know about the weather, because when you live in El Salvador, you live in a tropical place, and you think everything is going to be the same everywhere. So when I got there, it was sunny, and I saw that people were running to the parks, and they were extremely excited, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah, right.
And the next 2 weeks, it was dark and raining and cold. So it was like, oh my goodness, that's why they were so excited, because the sun is like, it's very scarce here. So I understood the sun is not everywhere. And I had to learn how to dress myself, because I have never worn gloves or a scarf or a coat. So my brother was there, luckily, to teach me. At the beginning, I was using the heater in the maximum level, like being in the tropics, and I didn't know that was very bad for your health. So after 2 weeks, I was very weak, because I didn't know I had to open the windows and let the air flow. And then my brother told me, you must do that, because that's very bad for your health. And funny things, like, for example, when I was in Germany, I was in a building for people who got scholarships, and I stayed in the same floor with people from Mongolia, with 3 women from Mongolia. And for them, it was summer, And we have our private rooms, but for them, it was summer. They opened the windows. They were wearing T-shirts, and I was freezing. I was like, come on, what are you doing? So it was very interesting, and That was one of the funniest stories, the cold weather, that you don't know how to wash. Sometimes once I washed my sweater and I put it outside. I didn't know it was going to be frozen and stiff. When the next day
that must have been a shock.
Yes, it was funny. I didn't have special shoes or clothing, so nothing. It was just, but I was young. It was funny and
Yeah. And it wasn't like now where you can just go online and research. You can pull up on your phone, what is the weather right now in any part of the world? We can see. But back then it was a lot harder and we couldn't just watch videos. And so, yeah, it makes sense that you would not have been as well prepared.
Yeah.
Yes, and those days there were no in El Salvador. There were no shops where they sell winter clothing. So I've never seen those things. Now you can find them.
Oh, really?
Yes, in Sara, in Mango, and places like that.
Oh, more
Yes.
foreign stores.
Yes, but in my days, in the year 2000, it was impossible to find something like that.
Well, tell us about something that, besides the weather, that was hard in your adjustment to living outside of El Salvador.
That was hard.
Yeah.
The German people, they are not easy, They are very direct, and they are not the sweetest person on the planet. But I learned how to treat them, and I learned that it's also good that they are this direct, and they don't lie to you, but they tell you the things are as they are. So at the beginning it was a little bit harsh, and I didn't understand that. But although I studied in a German school, and it was not easy to, but living there, it's like you expect more politeness, because. But then I said it's better. I prefer them that they are honest and not polite. So, but at the beginning it was harsh.
Yeah.
I feel like Latin American cultures are very polite, and with the language and even the formality of one verb form versus the casual form. And when I'm speaking in Spanish, I have to be much more polite and slower in as far as letting people, making time for the how are yous and oh, may I please come in and la la la. But in the United States, we're not so. I mean, we're polite, but not as nice, I think. As nice. But so in Germany, I know, then they're even more direct than in the United States. And
yes.
Yeah, and on time and punctual, but honest, like you said.
Yes, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, Manuel, my husband, wanted me to ask you, so how did you going to the German school influence your deciding to go to Germany or to these other places? How do you think that had an influence?
That was funny because I hated the German school. I was Spanish to study there, In the British school, everything was very hippie, and we sang the Beatles every Friday.
Nice.
And it was a perfect school, and it was more about culture and arts. And then it was extremely expensive, so I had to move. I had to change to the German school, and instead of learning about the Beatles, we began learning about Bach, Mozart, and classical music, and a lot about math. And that's not my favorite subject. So in the British school, I was a very good student, and in the German school, I was a rebel. I was against everything, and so I hated the German school, and I still have stomachache when I go inside that school. But it's funny because all the opportunities were opened in Germany, and it changed my vision too of the Germans, because I have very good friends in Germany that I would have never expected to have met. So the German school helped me because of the language. That I got the job at the expo because of the language, and then I got the scholarship because of the language. So it opened me many doors that I would have never expected while I was studying in the German school.
Yeah,
That's a good question from Manuel.
Yeah. Manuel, there you go. And learning a second and third language always opens doors for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important. Okay. Carolina, tell us more about what you loved about living outside of your country.
Well, in Germany, I loved the milk, cheese, bread. The bread is delicious. Their bakeries are wonderful.
I believe it.
And in those days, of course, I liked the German guys in those days.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Something we love.
I was young. So I loved that too. And I was very exotic for them. So there was a great match for.
Oh, that's funny. And what about in some of the other countries that you spent time in? What did you love about, let's see, you were also in Italy and Korea for some periods. What did you love about those places?
And in Spain too. In Spain, I liked that they party until 7:00 in the morning. I was like, okay, let's meet 12:00 in the night. And we're like, what? Yes, that's very popular. So I got the rhythm of partying. I was young, of course. Now I don't do that anymore. And to eat very good food, And in Korea too, I spent these months at the south, in Jeosu, which is
the island?
At the ocean. It's not an island, but it's at the ocean. So there was fresh seafood. They ate the octopuses while they were moving, and I never did that. But everything was extremely fresh. And so I think the best of everything was the food. I like eating a lot. So having different tastes. At expos, for example, I was always trying the Mongolian restaurant, the Angolan restaurant, the Peruvian restaurant, the Japanese restaurant. So I like eating a lot.
That's yes, 100%. And it's just a way to see how other cultures are creative and using their ingredients in their environment and making our tongues alive with all the flavor. I love that.
And also their traditional dresses. I loved. Sometimes I borrow their traditional dresses just to take pictures. Or, for example, when I had a birthday in Germany, I bought a sari and all the jewelry from India, and they dressed me. The girls from India, they put the sari on me, and they gave me all the jewels, and that was also very nice.
So while you were in Germany,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And also, for example, with my friends from Thailand, I always got friends from Thailand because their food was very good. So,
Carolina, now we see your motivation.
Yes.
For friendships.
Because I don't cook, so that was...
I was just going to ask whether or not you cooked also, or...
No, I don't cook, so that was very important for me to have good friends that cook.
What was something that surprised you about living in so many different places?
Well, basically their cultures, everybody's cultures, how different we are, how wonderful nature everywhere is, how beautiful the creation of God is. For example, in Korea, I was very close to some little islands, and nature was wonderful over there. In Spain, I had the chance to go to their forest. In Germany, to go all over the places in nature and to enjoy walking in a forest, things that are not affordable in El Salvador, that you cannot do that because there are no. I grew up in a war, then there was post-war, then there was a lot of violence because of gangs. So everything was to protect myself and to be careful wherever I go. But when I traveled abroad, I learned too that you had to protect yourself everywhere. That things were also nice, but danger was everywhere, not just in El Salvador. But I enjoyed nature very much and being free, because in those days that was not possible in El Salvador. So, for example, I loved sitting down in the garden, in the grass, while we were having a picnic. And those are things that you don't do in El Salvador, and that are very nice. I still miss making a picnic with my friends. But enjoying nature, I think that was the most important thing. And also learning about how different we are and how respectful you have to be with the other person, and everything you can learn just by sitting down with somebody who lives in a very different culture, and you can see how they live, how they behave, what they eat again. And for example, when I was in Korea, I was with these people from the South Pacific, and I was in my booth representing El Salvador with the theme of the sea turtle conservation. And I saw that they were very ashamed at the beginning with me, and I didn't understand why. And it's because then, after months, they confessed me that they ate sea turtles, and that for them it's very popular to eat them. And it's very traditional, and how they wore the part of the shell of the sea turtles, that from the hawksbill sea turtle. For them, it's like gold, So if they had a ring made of that material, that was very important. So I convinced the girls not to wear them, and I told them, if your boyfriend gives you that ring, tell him it's better if he gives you something more expensive. But not something from sea turtles. So it was interesting. And for example, many stories about the guy in the Marshall Islands told me about the atomic bomb, and how it changed their lives, how people got sick because of this nuclear bomb. And the people from Brazil, I learned how to sing with them. I didn't learn how to dance, but everywhere I traveled, it was a big experience, to know how people lived.
Yeah, I know that experiencing nature is so important to you, and in fact, you have your hotel, and we'll put the website in our show notes so people can visit your hotel's website. But when you were talking about, well, like, first of all, El Salvador is a beautiful country with volcanoes and greenery and flowers, and I guess that when there is conflict and people cannot access those places, it's like a pérdida, right? It's a loss. And then you were explaining you had the Civil War, and then you had the post-war, and then there were a gang problem. So being outside, or people are more apt to be in their homes to protect themselves. And so it's like a privilege to be in nature, but it shouldn't be.
Yes.
I was thinking too about how when we do tourism, right? We all love to travel. Everybody listening to this podcast loves travel, but not just travel for travel's sake. It's like traveling to stay, traveling to understand. And as a family, I think, okay, when we travel, I want to make sure that we're in nature. I want to make sure that we're doing something that's not just consuming what the country has to offer, but hopefully giving back in some way. I mean, of course, our tourism dollars give back to a country, but doing it in a sustainable way. And we're really excited to hear you talk more about your sustainable hotel.
So we have talked a little bit already about some of the different things that you've learned about the world while you were traveling. So how about if you take a last couple of minutes for this first part of your interview to tell us, what did you learn about yourself as a result of your travels and living abroad?
Sometimes I realized I was escaping from all the problems in El Salvador. And that was very hard for me to realize it. And then I had to forgive my past, to understand the Civil War was a process. I was not able to do anything with it, but I was a child, so it affected everybody here, not just me. But I learned I was just escaping. And probably I was very immature at the beginning, just trying to show off that, yes, I travel a lot. And because that was something very important here. That was at the beginning. And then at the beginning, after the first World Expo, I got very depressed. But then I realized that's not a real world. But I will continue working there. And I will enjoy it, but I will not get that excited as the first time. So at the next expo, I told my friends, don't get too excited. This is not real. This will finish in 6 months. So we have to enjoy it now, but then we have to have another project in our life to continue. The world doesn't stop if the World Expo stops. So I try to do it very professionally and to get more knowledge in my career and in my life.
That is very wise. And I think, sometimes we gain this wisdom the hard way, right?
Yes.
But I think that's good advice for, if you're in something like a World Expo or something that you're getting ready for this big event and your focus is all on that. There are so many different things that we can put all of our focus on. And if we forget that, there is going to be life after that, it's good to take time to think about, what about after this? So we aren't quite so shocked and lost when we get to, whatever's after that. So I think that's very applicable in so many different settings. So well, thank you, Carolina. It's been fun to hear you talk about this first part of your story, and we are looking forward to hearing more stories when we come back for part 2 about when you resettled and stayed in El Salvador, and so we can't wait to come back.
Yes, me too.
Thank you, Carolina, for sharing your round-trip stories from Germany, Italy, and wherever there was a world or trade fair. You loved every minute of interacting with the host countries and those others represented at the fairs. You savored foods, sights, and the learning you received just by sitting down with someone from another country. That learning often centered around the environment, nature, and sustainability. And each time you returned to El Salvador, you applied some of that learning to the hotel and shared with others in Central America. So, what happened when Carolina returned to El Salvador permanently? You'll have to make a return trip to our podcast for part 2 of Carolina's round-trip story to find out.
Want the podcast equivalent of early boarding and first-class seating? Be sure to subscribe to this podcast in your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, would you consider sharing it with your fellow globe-trotting friends? We would love to encourage them too. We believe that sharing stories helps our understanding of the world grow larger while the distance between us grows smaller.
As this episode lands, we hope these stories have encouraged you, helped you find some more of your belongings, and made your baggage a little lighter. Thanks so much for listening, friends. We'll see you next time.